Hey there. Do you ever feel like you have baggage from your childhood or just stuff you're carrying around? I mean, it could be from a year ago, it could be from 20 years ago. Well, I'm going to have a great conversation today with a guest of mine, a very special guest who came thousands of miles just to be on this podcast. Right, Mona?
Yeah. Hi.
Did you come here just to be on the podcast?
Not really. I like the weather, but I like seeing you too.
That's great. So, Mona came from Germany. And I'm really excited too because I was able to interview her in person, which it's so great to be able to do that, not on a device.
Yeah.
Because she's going to be included in my upcoming book, Burn the Map. And so, it's kind of interesting about finding out about your childhood because I don't think I found out right away about your story. Like the first day we met, you didn't come in and say, guess what? Right. But what I love about I don't love that happened in your childhood, but what I love is that I would never know.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know people, what I'm talking about, people who carry it around on their face, in their demeanor, in their behavior, in their attitude, and you just know life's no good for them.
Yeah.
Right?
I know that, right?
You know people like that?
I know a couple of them.
We're not naming them. Don't worry. Don't worry. But I mean, I think that when life is difficult, especially for an extended period of time, or like I call it life's 2x4s that whack you upside the head, it's easy to become a victim or to feel like one.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that your 2x4 happened when you were 13.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting when you're telling me your story, I'm going, how old was she? She was only 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you just had to grow up fast, if you were already an old soul or what.
Yeah, I think I had to grow up pretty fast because of that.
But you didn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You chose to.
Yeah, I chose to. That's right.
But I don't feel like you have this non-childlike quality to you, though, either, where you just became this old, 60-year-old in a 30-year-old body or something, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I had I had a nice childhood. I was all happy and everything was like it should be, like in my thoughts when I was a child.
Okay, so you have a brother who's
5 years older.
5 years older. Mm-hmm. Your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
This was your nucleus. Yeah. This was your family.
Yeah.
And everything's going along great. You told me you went on vacations to Italy, which, by the way, for us Americans, going to Italy is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
For you, it's like, we'll drive over to Italy.
That's true. I think I was there like 9 times when I was a child. Yeah.
Oh, we're all envious about, especially if you live in a big state in the U.S., for us to go from state to state, it's a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a huge, long trip. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to hop over to France tonight, So, yeah, I think that's super cool. But, I mean, so when you're telling your story, I'm picturing this little German village, and I'm picturing this beautiful childhood that you talked about, your mom and your dad and all these trips, and you also told me that we don't have your brother on here. We don't know his perspective.
Yeah.
But you told me you were daddy's little girl.
Yeah. I think everyone would say that. Like, I was his little princess. And I think my brother won't like it when he think about it. But I think he got a lot of trouble because of me, because I was the princess. So
did you realize that at the time?
No. Probably sometimes when I did something wrong and I blamed him for it, but
oh, the truth comes out.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to be watching. He already knows.
Yeah, he knows.
But I mean, all kidding aside and everything, it's one thing to have kind of a childhood that's kind of chaotic and traumatic and everything like my childhood was. And in a way you think, well, at least, you got to have these good years. But at the same time, I feel like when something changes so dramatically overnight, so quickly, you are unprepared.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about what happened when all of a sudden, I mean, you don't have to get into whatever details you want. This is your story. But I mean, daddy's little girl one day was no more.
Yeah. I mean, I think I found out that my dad wasn't really a good person way earlier before everything happened to me, but he was good with me. Like he was I was still his girl, even though I knew something's kind of not okay about him, but it was just normal for me. So
And didn't you say he also had a good reputation in this small town?
Yeah.
So, or village, right? You
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
So everything on the outside is telling you he's good, he's okay, he treats me this way, but you have something, there's that little old soul in you that you have that little something where you knew.
Yeah, I knew. Like he didn't. I don't want to go too deep for that because my mom has her own story, but I knew that he didn't treat her always nice. Like when we were around and we were with the family, everything was good. I mean, you go on vacations like that was awesome. We had a great time as a family. But behind the doors at home, sometimes I knew that something is not okay and not like the other families. But for me, it was just normal until I had to find out that basically I just were like facing him or I just told him and asked him if he really tells the truth now, and he couldn't go with it.
He couldn't even lie
No,
to you.
no.
But he'd been lying to your mom probably all along.
Yeah, a lot of
So you
times.
flat out asked him. That was
Yeah.
kind of brave.
Yeah,
How old were you then?
13.
Oh, this is right at the time.
Yeah.
He was like, oh crap, the jig is up.
Yeah. So it was kind of really like for me it was just a question. I mean, like, what are you doing now? You can't be serious, something like that. And but then I think in my version of it, and you go through this all the time, and you're doing something like that, and you have to go through something like that. I think in his perspective, oh crap, now she's getting it, what I'm doing. She's not still just the girl who believes in Santa and in him. I really forced him to say the truth and tell the truth. So I think this was the point when he changed his perspective to me too.
So you think he was scared? He was scared you were going to figure out or somehow expose what he was up to.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he was doing things that were not what a good husband would do.
Mm-hmm.
So then, without getting into, you don't have to get into all the details if you don't want, but literally it seemed like one day he becomes enraged.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't seem like a switch, like a light switch?
Like it was like I was just feeling normal, and I had nothing under me again. Like I was falling so deep. That's what I felt because he kicked me out of the house. Let's point it just like he came in my room. We were at home alone. My mom was gone for about 4 hour drive, and he came in my room yelling, and he never yelled at me. Like
that must have been a shock. Then.
Even the yelling was shocking,
right?
Because I mean, sure, I got trouble and whatever with him, but he never yelled like that at me. And then he yelled and he was screaming, and then he said, "I'm not allowed to live here anymore," so he kicked me out of the house.
At 13.
Yeah. I like, what did I do? Like, is there something I didn't know about? Like, did somebody tell you something I should know what I did? But it was just because he didn't want me to have him on. He didn't want me to have me as his daughter anymore. That's what he basically said.
But how does that? Okay, so when I look at that, it either has to be that you never really were, and the whole thing was an act, or he's on drugs or something. How you can't? I mean, you're a parent. Your husband's a parent. We haven't even talked about your husband yet.
Oh yeah,
and how I know you.
Yeah,
and how you became the better half. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah, but you need to keep on following.
But you're watching your husband with your kids and stuff, and you're thinking, I don't even think that's possible. If you really love your kids and value them, you can't one day say, I don't want you to be my daughter. It doesn't. So did you ever figure out what could cause a person to do this?
No, but I before I can answer that question, I would have to answer the question how to treat a woman or a family like that before. I mean, he, like I said, it was normal for me, but he wasn't a normal person, like what we suggested being normal. What is normal? But he didn't, like I said, he wasn't a good person at all. But everyone else outside of our family thought he's a nice person, he's just a nice guy, but he wasn't. And before I could answer the question, how can he be to me like he did? How can he treat me like that? I had to answer the question, how can I treat a woman like that before? I mean, something hasn't, like, in my opinion, something was wrong in his brain. I mean, something was
Yeah.
not connected right or whatever. I think he was an addict too, and that probably caused a lot of the problems. But I'm pretty sure he made a lot of bad decisions. And when he kicked me out, I think in his perspective, I was just going on my mom's side, even without being on my mom's side, because I didn't know that I have to choose.
Yes.
There was just my family as a side,
Right.
so it was in the family, and then in his thoughts, I guess I was choosing my mom.
But I think it would be a
over him.
pretty easy choice when someone says you're not my daughter
Yeah.
anymore. I mean,
So,
oh, okay, now you're mad at me for choosing. You already chose,
yeah,
right?
he chose for me.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of interesting because when I hear your story, it's kind of, you know, you're telling it like, well, this happened and then that happened. And it's kind of like I do the same thing when I talk about the different things in my childhood. But if you step back and you think about if that happening to someone else, because that's what had to happen to me. I'm pretty sure I told you this where I was seeing this counselor and, you know, I'm going, well, how do you think it made me feel? He'd always say, how did that make you feel when you were 7? How did this make you feel? And I'd go, I don't know how, you know, I don't remember. It happened in the past. And I couldn't really identify that little girl with me, even though it was me, until he said, what if all that stuff happened to Jamie? And remember, I told you this recently because then it was a box of tissue. And when I was able to step outside of it happening to me and imagining it happening to my daughter, so isn't it interesting how we're kind of in our story? We don't think about how, but that's very traumatic.
It is.
When the life you knew is, and this happens a lot when in divorce.
Yeah.
But that's different. Divorce is different than your dad basically disowning you.
Yeah.
And then he went on to do some really terrible, awful things to you. And by the way, a big shout out to your mom. Even though obviously she was allowing stuff to happen probably because she wanted to keep her family together. She was allowing herself to not be treated well, but she always told you to stick up for yourself. She taught you great things, but also, who cares when it happens? The fact that she finally had her moment.
Oh, yeah.
Where she said she chose courage.
Yeah.
And she probably thought about it a lot of times.
Oh, yes, she did.
But when it happened to her daughter,
it was over right away. She didn't even think about it twice. Like, she stayed with him way too long because she wanted to have us, as a good family and like always, or a lot of women do outside. They try to, it's just me. I can get over it.
Yeah.
I can live with it. At least the kids are happy.
Right. As long as you don't do anything to my kids. That is kind of true when I think about it, because I'm like, yeah, I can take a lot. But if you I'm not even saying a swear word, which is unusual for me. If you F with my kids, that's a whole nother story.
It's another story, another level. And that's what my mom then got over it. And the second he did that to me, she was out of that whole.
So she still gave you a great lesson. But I wonder if, I'm pretty sure I know, how you parent is I mean, I know your mom's a great parent, so that's not that. But more importantly, probably how you are treated in your relationship. And Rafi might listen to this, so we better be careful. No, all kidding aside, do you think that how all of that happening and then you stepping back and going, okay, this is not a good person. You said earlier, he's obviously not treating women, doesn't have respect for women or whatever. Could you see how that made you more resolute, more strong in your, like, I will never be in a relationship like that?
Sure, of course. And that, even though she, like, my mom went through all of that, she was a kind of role model for me because I knew, and she made me strong when I grew up, and I knew that I never want to have or want to be in that situation she was in. So I think I was always, after everything happened, I was always trying to get everything done by myself, and I could do it, and like I kept that as a thing for myself. So, and I think I love my husband, even if he's watching. um, and I really think he's a great guy, and I never were with him when he would be any kind of like my father or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely made
if you
you.
get
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's, I think that, but what's interesting is a lot of people do the same thing. A
They
lot
do.
of people repeat
Yeah.
what happened in their childhood.
Yeah.
Even if they hated it and they didn't want to, it's like all they knew. But thankfully you had, maybe your mom wasn't always taking the best care of herself, but she was always making sure that you were shielded,
Yeah.
and that you, not just shielded, but that you would grow up to be a strong woman. And that's commendable that she was able to sacrifice herself,
Yeah.
yet make sure that you had that strong. But so I was wondering though about, when I think about it, it's such betrayal. And it's the same with my biological dad. Well, you know, I call him my sperm donor.
Yeah.
Maybe you've thought that way about
A lot of
your
times.
dad before. But it really, like you just said earlier, you said, well, it was just how it was. Life was just how it was, you know, and the way he treated your mom was just seemed normal. And it, I guess, kind of was normal the way my life was too. But when I really think back on it, and I think, he was not a dad. He was a sperm donor. And that's really a bummer. It's a ripoff, but it's also a betrayal. And betrayals cut deep and hard. And I think betrayals can last you a lifetime. And so I'm wondering if you just were such a strong, I can do everything myself person, or if you ever thought about, or did it affect your relationships to have been betrayed by one of the two people in the world that should have had your back. Right?
Yeah.
Because that when a parent betrays you, it's like as bad as a spouse betraying you.
Like I don't really know. I went there and I tried to figure out what I was feeling all the time, and then when everything happened. But what really helped me was talking. And in the beginning, I was just shocked. I was just in a situation where everything was running by me, and I was just not by myself.
Yes.
Even if I could watch myself. Like when he kicked me out of the house, he made me run. Really, he made me run out of the house. I wasn't allowed to go see my grandparents. They lived next door. He told me that he will never allow me to go there anymore. And so I was just running. And while I was running, I was like, okay, what should I do now? And that situation kept going for, I think, quite a time. Of course, I was sleeping, not always running, but in my mind, my mind was always running. And then I thought, I cannot run from my life or after my life. So I asked myself what life will I have in front of me? Like if I always keep running or be afraid of anything. So I think even at that young age, I made a decision that I want to be a strong woman. And I had the possibilities because of my mom and my grandparents. They were my mom's parents. They were such supportive people. And they gave me the possibility and the chance to be a strong, or to become a strong woman.
I don't think you were becoming one. You already were.
Sorry. Yeah.
You already were. I mean, really, it's pretty amazing for you. A lot of kids at that age are just going to be, how is this affecting me? I don't like this. This stinks. We don't get to go to Italy anymore, right? All of the Mimi stuff. And obviously you were thinking about yourself too, but more projecting, okay, how is my life going to go? And you decided right then, maybe you didn't know it, but you decided right then that you weren't going to allow this trauma to be a part of your story. It's part of your story.
Yeah.
To be a part of your future story, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too. So after everything happened and we talked about in the family, I tried to figure out, how should I feel now? How should I be now? Like, who am I? I'm 13 years old. I had a dad, but now I have no dad anymore because he said I don't have a dad. So I talked it because I didn't know how to feel actually. Because yeah, I mean, are there any kind of feelings you should have? Like a lot of people were asking me, "Oh, you bet you're probably so sad about it. You're so," but I was angry. I had so many feelings, and I couldn't like tell them all the time, and they were like mixed up. And I started talking with my teacher about it, and I actually felt really good after that. So I think I kept talking to everyone who was close to me. And I think with that, I got more strength and I got more power, and it was helpful to, yeah, to get over that.
That's amazing because you also saved a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people, I mean, I know people who are in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the time something like this happens, a traumatic experience, they're in therapy until yesterday.
Yeah.
And not saying that therapy's bad or that it couldn't be helpful, but I thought it was so amazing. I even had to put a little snippet in the book about this because I just thought it was so amazing that you basically self-counseled, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because if you go to a counselor or therapist, they're going to go, okay, now let's talk about this, let's talk about that, and they would direct you.
Mm-hmm.
You were sitting other people down and talking to them. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't, or I never felt like that, so I just did it because it felt good and felt the right way to do it. And of course, I got a lot of support from my mom and my grandparents of that, but they knew that I was doing okay. I mean, my mom was worried, my grandparents were worried about me. I mean, it's always.
Sorry, that's Fiona trying to get in and be part of our discussion. I was thinking, we could cut this.
Yeah.
We could stop and cut. But you know what? This is life.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
That's.
I mean, if your kids were here, they'd probably be knocking on the door.
Oh, yeah.
They might be scratching on it.
Yeah, probably.
Wait, speaking of your kids, I just have to say really quickly. So, Mona's oldest child, her daughter, has my middle name.
Oh, yeah.
I'm her godmother. Oh, it's so cool. But you're going to have to watch or listen to a completely different episode if you want to know the story of how we know each other, because I'm not going to tell you. I'm not. We're going to have Rafi tell the story of how we know each other. That's it's been, I mean, I haven't known you as long, but we've known each other a long time. How long have we known each other now?
14 years now.
14 years. My gosh, that was back when I was like 32, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure of it. Yeah. Well, you know what I was thinking though, seriously, Mona, that I love that you didn't buy into victimhood. Mm-hmm. You didn't. In fact, I think you kind of went the other direction. Like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Isn't that what you told me? Like, what you didn't want that.
That's what I told my teacher. He said, I think I have to be sorry now. And I said, no, I don't want you to be sorry for me. I just wanted to let you know. That's how I started talking with the different people outside of our family, because I didn't know how will I react when something is coming up at school or whatever. So at least I thought someone should know that I maybe start crying or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and he said, I feel really sorry for you. And I said, no, you don't have to be sorry for me. I just wanted to let you know that this is happening right now, or was happening, and still is, because I didn't know how far it went. When he sent me the messages and everything. So, like.
Oh, your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad sent you really awful. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was almost like you were having, well, you weren't even engaged in it, a one-sided, it was like a mean girl.
Yeah.
Right? It could have been a mean girl from your 13-year-old class that sent you those types of messages. Yeah. I mean, really awful. That's what makes me think, yeah, there was something not quite right, or drugs or something. And I'm not making excuses for him.
No.
It's just that you always want to try to figure out, how does a person go from this to this? I don't know. But I'm just glad that you decided that, because what about the shame component? Because he had a good reputation and
Yeah.
you're in a very small village.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me that initially people didn't think you and your mom should have left,
Yeah.
or thought you were wrong, or
Yeah.
and if he's sending you texts like
Mm-hmm.
you told me he sent, Lord knows what he was telling everybody in the village,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That would listen.
Yeah.
So did you ever feel, people are looking at me, people are saying things? I mean, that's a hard age for your whole life to blow up, and then people to think he's such a great guy.
Yeah, like that was actually kind of hard because at the beginning I thought everyone thinks he's such a great guy, and I know now that he's not. But then I more thought I can I can show them that it's not true. Not that I were running around and talking about him all the time, but the people who really were interested in me and in my family, they started listening, and I was like, I wanted to stand for what I was thinking of my future. Like I wanted to tell and not like having a hard time with explaining that.
Really? Because you told me earlier.
Yeah.
So Mona was a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about like a junior high cheerleader.
No.
You were a cheerleader for, well, is it different?
Yeah, we don't have that in Germany.
You don't have the NFL like we have or something.
No, and we have the cheerleader. It's just a possibility that you have outside of school and just in a regular club. And we have a football club in Marburg, and I started cheerleading when I was 11. So
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That early?
yeah. So yeah, and yeah, it's
That's how you met Rafi.
yeah, that's how I met him actually.
He was so okay. When I'm going to come back to that. Don't let me forget that. He's behind the camera. Don't let me forget that, because I really do want to ask about that. But when I was saying that you were a cheerleader and all that, is that when you said you were having a hard time explaining yourself, you told me before we started shooting, you said, "Oh, I'm not nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I could stand in front of 1,000 people." First of all, that's weird. Okay, those of us who can stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people, we're very unusual.
Yeah.
Because the fear of public speaking is right up there next to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I know a lot of people.
Yeah, that literally, it's like it's at the top of the fear list. Right?
Oh, wow.
Death, public speaking. For some people, it's public speaking and then death.
Oh, wow.
Right? No, it's not a comfortable, normal thing. So you're telling me, no problem. I'm just concerned that I won't be able to express myself because of the language barrier. I mean, I wish we could hear from everybody right now. If we were in a live audience, they'd all be clapping right now. Yay! Thank you. We did have a live audience. Because no, your English is amazing and you've been able to express yourself really, really well. But the reason I wanted to come back to this football thing is because I know a little birdie told me that Rafi was after you.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta hand it to him because he was very persistent.
That's true.
So do you think that this betrayal in your early childhood, I'm not saying necessarily with Rafi, but did it affect your relationships or skeptical about trusting people?
Not sure. I think this because I gave him a hard time.
Why did you do that anyway? He's like my second son.
Yeah, I know.
We should have a talk right now. Why did you do that to him?
Yeah, I mean, he's, like I said, he's such a great guy. And I really liked him, and we met when we were 11, but we kind of knew because we're both at the same club. But when we finally met again and got closer, and he wanted to date me, and it wasn't that I wasn't interested in him. I liked him a lot, but I wasn't not into the dating stuff because I spent so much time at the club we went out for away games, and we were sitting in the bus for 6 or 7 hours and next to each other. So we spent so much time over there that
Thought you were already dating?
No, it was more like my ex-boyfriend was one from my workplace, and I said no way, I want to have my special my thing and his thing, and I never wanted to have some big parts connecting again.
He should have quit football.
No,
That would
yeah.
have shown you right then.
That's true.
If he really wanted you, he would have just quit the team right on the spot.
Yeah.
That was almost a fatal mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Not doing that.
No, he kept he was begging for a date. And, I mean, 2 kids and a marriage later.
And yeah, and a great so speaking of that, I kind of want to just really wrap it up to say you are truly one of the most amazing. I mean, obviously, I'm not in your house. I'm not behind the scenes, but I'm assuming you're an amazing wife, or wouldn't hear all the amazing things that Rafi says about you, but also you're a really, really great mom. And I know you had a good role model for a mom, but one thing I noticed, not only are you super involved in your kids' lives, but you're not overprotective, which I feel like a lot of parents, especially the ones that I see nowadays, like they don't want their kid to skin their knee, to make a mistake, to have a hard day, running around doing everything they can to keep their kids from living their lives. And I remember you told me one time, a long time ago, I don't know if you remember, but you said something like, my job is to prepare. This is when you only had Amelia before Lenny. You said, my job is to prepare her, to teach her to be strong so she can go and live her life. I don't think we're parenting like that much these days. So how is it, what gives you that? Is it just sort of how you are, or?
I think even though I have my experience with my dad, I think I grew up like that too. I always was able to do mistakes and never got in, of course I got in trouble, but not too bad. And my mom and my grandparents they let me do stuff and explore the world. And I try to do that with the kids too, because I know when something is happening, like you have to be, strong enough to get over it because life goes on. And you want to, there's always a decision. You always have a decision. Right now, I'm so glad that I can be here, but it was a decision to come here to book the flights, and everything is a decision. So I have to decide so many things, and I would rather help my kids to learn how they do a decision than decide for them.
And and can't they just make a different one? If this is the thing, I feel like sometimes people are kind of stingy with their decisions, like there's a limited supply of them, but it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? If you make a mistake right now, you can just make a different one and a different one. And sometimes our decisions are, at the time, they seemed like a good idea, and then they turn out not to be.
Yeah.
But you're making a good point that you're always sitting here going, okay, well then just make a different one.
Yeah.
And I think we're, as a society now, we're so afraid of failure. We're afraid. That's the key word. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of what other people will think. We're afraid of what other parents will think about our parenting. And on it goes. And so we're sometimes paralyzed by fear. Instead of just going out and grabbing the world by the you-know-whats.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what you're really teaching your kids, to go and do that, and to, obviously you want to be safe.
Sure.
But not to be scared of everything.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm trying to be as a parent, because of course I want to have them this very nice and glittery and sparkly life, but it's not like that.
The world's not like that?
Oh, sorry.
You just blew up my whole life. My life has been just like that until just now.
Yeah, but for kids, it actually is.
Yes.
Everything is fun, and they are all about playing and enjoying their life, and that's how it should be. And I don't want to be the worst person, the bad person who tells them all the time, no, you cannot do this and that, because then will this and that happen. They have to try out by themselves. But the world, like I said, is
Well, if you don't teach them that life's tough, the world's going to teach it to them,
that's
right?
true.
And I think that's if we do too much sheltering, one day they're going to wake up and go, what happened to, it'd be like what happened to you when you're 13 and they get whacked upside the head. So I'm going to tell one little closing story, but before I do, I want to say that, Mona, thank you for allowing me to tell bits and pieces of this story in the book Burn the Map.
Sure.
Because it does take courage, because, I mean, it does. I know you don't think so because you're just living your life and we've talked about it before, but it takes courage to put your story out there, not knowing what people think. And you know what? I say, who gives a damn what people think anyway? You know what? I'm so over worrying about it. But what's more important than that is that somebody, I say somebody, I believe there'll be more than one somebody's, people will read something. They'll hear on this episode some little thing that they'll relate to. And I think more than anything, people want to be heard. They want their stories and they're afraid to tell them.
Oh, yeah.
But what you've done is, what you're doing is allowing other people to overcome the fear of living their lives and telling their story. Because if each person could just share their story and it would help one other person, imagine.
Yeah.
If that's all we ever did.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It would be shocking. So thank you a million times. And I'm so excited for you to be a part of the book and my life. It's really, seriously, I don't want to say you're the better half because Rafi's amazing, but he couldn't have done any better with you. That's for darn sure. But what I want to say is, recently I put out a YouTube. It was not a podcast episode, but I put out a YouTube. And for those of you who may have seen it recently, I'm pretty sure it's already up there. But it was called Banana In, Bad Mood Out. And so when I told that story, you're the one that handed him the banana. And you know what? You really need to go and watch that, because the kind of inspiration you can get from kids if you'll watch them and listen and learn from them.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said it a minute ago. You said kids grow up with this sparkly life, and we were those, even in my shit show of a childhood, we still had sparkly moments. We still thought the world was our oyster. We hadn't been beat up by life yet. And so the premise, of course, is that when we get in a bad mood, and I bought some bananas this morning at the store to see if it really works. Yeah. Because you know what? I'm not giving it away, darn it. Yeah. But the point is that it's this simple with a 2-year-old. He was 2 at the time, Lenny. It's this simple. Banana in, bad mood out. Because kids can change their attitude on a dime, right? Yeah. I mean, tears streaming down your face, and you literally say that. As adults, we've been beat up by life so much, or we've allowed ourselves, I don't know what it is. We get in a bad mood and it can last for
forever.
Like way too long. That's a really good point. Forever. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important not to, like what you just said. It's really important to look what, sometimes even our kids, we want to be role models for our kids, but sometimes they are even for us.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I'm using that. I'm going to use it for one of my quotes. It's true. Role models are everywhere, everywhere. I have this person that's, I guess, kind of extended family, and he was saying once, "Oh, Sean's so lucky because he has you and Rich for a role model." I said, "Yeah, he is. But guess what? Role models are everywhere. You can find them." And you made such a good point. You can even have a role model that's 2 years old. Yeah. Amazing blessing. So thank you so much for creating those 2 little amazing little people. And I can't wait to see what they're going to go out and do in this world, because they have such a reality check from you and Rafi as parents, and you let them go out and stub their toes, and you also explain to them and help them understand the world around them. So thanks for having the courage to do that and not just take the easy route in any part of your life. You're very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Of course. Maybe again when I go to Germany.
Oh, yeah.
We'll record at your house.
Oh, that would be nice.
Next June? Okay.
Bye.
Bye.